everybody. My name is Greg and I'm the 3D Fanatic. Welcome to my channel and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to watch. This is my first video on the channel and there are three things that I would like to cover. And the first is to introduce myself, which I sort of already did. The second is to talk about my history in 3D printing so you'll know where I'm coming from as I make more videos. The third thing is to share the direction that I see future videos going. So number one is mostly covered, but I'll add that I currently live in the Denver, Colorado area. So on to number two. 2.5 years ago, I was living in North Carolina and attended a mini maker fair in Burlington. My experience there was rather interesting. I walked around this mall where there were vendors and people exhibiting things that they were making, many of which were 3D printing. So this was probably the first time I'd ever actually laid eyes on an actual 3D printer. I was aware of 3D printers. I don't know when the first time that I became aware of 3D printing would have been, but I'd been aware of it for some time. But this was really the first time I'd had any direct experience, and I was blown away. There were numerous people there with what appeared to be home-built 3D printers, printing off little figurines and little Yodas or little geometric shapes and things like that. I listened to one guy talk about how he was able to print parts for his printer. So if something broke or he wanted to make an improvement on his printer, he could just print something out, print out a part, whether it was modeled and designed by him or by somebody else. It didn't really matter. He had that ability to make something to improve on the printer that he had. That was something that was just foreign to me. It was so interesting, and I was absolutely fascinated. Fast forward maybe 6 months down the road to about a little over 2 years ago, I just ran across an ad for a 3D printer that seemed to me like it was more affordable than I would have expected. And to be honest, I didn't do a lot of research. I didn't really know what I was doing, but with the excuse of buying it for my son, who was at that point probably 15 years old, and it was taking some classes in high school on CAD and interested in electronics and things like that. I used that sort of as an excuse to get the 3D printer. It really was something that he was very interested in, but honestly, it was just as fascinating to me. So, we sort of called it a shared printer. So, unfortunately, though, although my son got the printer, unboxed it, got into the manuals, and started learning how to use it, I never really did. I was fascinated in watching it operate, and I would find things online that I wanted my son to print, have him print it for me. But I never really even started my own print job. I never learned enough about how to operate the software to actually do it myself. And a few months later, I was offered an opportunity to move to Denver, Colorado. So ultimately, I took that opportunity, and I'm in Denver now. So we went through a pretty long period of transition. All of our household goods were packed up. We lived in some temporary housing for a little while, and it was about 3 months before we received our household goods and moved and settled into a permanent place. Sometime after that, after a lot of unpacking, we got the printer out, and my son fired it up and tried to print something, and it wouldn't work. Suffice it to say, it appeared that we were going to have to spend some money to buy some new parts for the printer, and tearing it down and working on the component level just didn't, it just wasn't something we were prepared for. So with all of the busyness of moving and the transition, kids starting new schools and all that craziness, the printer just sat for months. And it was probably pretty close to a year before I just finally got tired of seeing it sit around, and I did a little bit of research and found an article that somebody had written up, or a web page where somebody had explained a problem that they were having that seemed similar. and a possible fix that was something that we could handle. It involved a little bit of soldering, but that wasn't beyond our capabilities. So my son jumped in there and tried it. So the good news is it worked. The printer fired up, heated up, and printed fine. So at that point, I don't know what was different for me, but I really applied myself. I got in there, and my son showed me a lot of things about how to operate the software, and I started printing things on my own. And man, I just completely was blown away by just the ability to create something out of basically nothing. You start with filament, and I'll do some videos that are a little more detailed and a little, give a little bit of the basics of 3D printing, and so that those that really are just brand new, might learn something from that. So, I started thinking about the fact that my son now is a senior in high school. He's actually graduating in about a week or 2 weeks. And although I'm not sure what his future holds, at some point he'll be moving away and likely taking the 3D printer with him. It really was bought in a way that, it was understood that this was his 3D printer. So myself, having gotten really interested in applying myself this time around, I didn't really care for the idea of not having one in the house if he were to leave and take it with him. So true to my own form, I bought not just one, but I bought 2 3D printers, and I didn't buy complete ready to use 3D printers. I bought kits that had to be assembled from nuts and bolts. But I enjoyed the process thoroughly. I bought one printer that was a very well-respected printer and very high performance right out of the gate. I got it put together, and within in no time at all, it was printing just magnificently. I also bought a very cheap Chinese 3D printer that was well known to have some faults, most of which could be overcome by 3D printing parts to enhance it, or making some changes to it that enhanced its safety and reliability. And so I set about doing that, and within a few weeks, that printer was printing nearly as well as the more expensive, more reliable, and more respected printer. So that for the past couple of months, I've been just printing everything I can find, and I've been getting involved a little bit in learning 3D modeling and designing some of my own stuff. So. I'm excited about it. I'm passionate about it. So, I print something cool. I take it to work. I show some of the guys at work, and they're fascinated by it. But I just decided that why not create some YouTube videos and share some of that. And that's why this channel is here. So that takes us to number 3, where I see this going. And what I would like to do, I think this will evolve as I go, but what I see doing is sharing some of the things that I'm printing, sharing some of the things that are fascinating to me. Also, I really believe that the future of 3D printing, I really believe this thing is just gonna grow like crazy. I think that the 3D printing industry has some improvements to make and some challenges ahead in making 3D printers as reliable as a typical home appliance. If they want to get it into the hands of everyday people who are maybe not technically or mechanically savvy, then 3D printing is going to have to be more reliable and a more positive experience right out of the box. So, and I think that there are great strides in that. I think that the printers that I purchased recently are just light years ahead of what we bought 2 years ago. Just absolutely blown away by some of the things that I've been able to print. And, and I feel like the people around me that have seen what I've created are pretty fascinated by that too. So I really kind of see this channel being being an avenue where I can share what I'm doing and share my passion, and also hopefully educate. I hope that you'll come back and watch future videos. I really hope to provide educating and entertaining content. So And I hope you'll join me on the journey, and we'll see where it goes. Thank you, everybody.